Hey everybody, it's Kendra Eris, and I'm back to work on our Define Your Focus worksheet. This is part 2 of a 3-part series of going through this worksheet here that says Define Your Focus at the top. You can download it in the files portion of this Facebook group and print it out and go through it yourself. So in part 1, we went over the first page where we defined our core values, defined our story, our why a little bit, and defined who we want to be in the company that we're in, 3-year goals, a marketing strategy, a messaging strategy, and 12-month goals. So if you haven't done that part yet, don't worry, it's not a big deal. You can watch this one or go back and watch the first one. I will link the first one in the comments here after we're done with this training, and we'll kind of go from there. So this second part of and I've already filled mine out. I kind of got on a roll today. I try to fill this out every month or every other month or so. And so the second sheet of this worksheet is really to help you see for achieving your goals and promotions, kind of let you see the big picture. And you know, I talked about in the first video that this is kind of like a bullseye, a target, where each color, you know, comes in and helps you really get everything really defined close. So this will help you kind of break down your goals for 6 months, 3 months, and 1 month. And one thing I want to make pretty clear to you, depending on where you're at in your own compensation plan and in your own journey, it can take a long time to get from one rank to the next. Some of the earlier ranks are really, they can come quickly, almost monthly, but then after you've been at it a while, you'll start to see some patterns emerge where, you know, promoting on a really regular basis can be really, really rough to do. And I guess the whole point, what I'm trying to say is to not overestimate what you can do in a month or 3 months time. So the way that I did this, and maybe this will work for you too, you can either go through your 6-month goals, your 3-month goals, and your 1-month goals one at a time, or what I did was I kind of did them across this way. So so you're first going to define what you think your title can be, or what you want your title to be, and what your goal title would be in 6 months time. So I'm currently a lead director, and I know I have a little time left at being a lead director before I'm able to easily get to my next promotion. I've learned the hard way that you need to let your promotions kind of come naturally. Sometimes we get really eager and we try to force a promotion by really pushing sales and you almost burn people out that way. So I've learned to just kind of ease up and enjoy the ride where I'm at. So, of course, so when you're planning this out, keep those things in mind. Keep in mind how long it takes to go from one rank to the next. And if you're not sure, talk to your upline about it, because they may be able to give you some advice based on your own journey where you may be able to be in 1 month, 3 months, or 6 months. So for each of those, you're going to define what you want your title to be and what you want your PRV to look like. And the reason I talk about PRV a lot, and that's your personal retail volume, the reason I talk about that a lot is because I really truly believe that when you focus on your personal sales before you focus on other things, and you work on increasing that month after month, you not only set yourself up with a much better foundation for success, but you also lead by example. You learn your products better. You learn you just learn the ins and outs of how your company works, especially delivering things to customers. And your best potential recruits are probably going to come from your customer pool. So learning to nurture and be a great customer service representative, and learning to be a master at selling your products before you're like so worried about sponsoring and a team and stuff, I believe is really, really important. So you're going to want to define for each of those 1, 3, and 6 months, your PRV, where you want that to be. And obviously you want that to increase every month. You want to define what you think your TGRV would be. And you're going to want to go back and look at what you set for your 12-month goals over here on this first page. And you'll kind of want this to all stack up together. So define what you want your total group retail volume to look like and how large your organization needs to be. You may have to go back and look at how much your group has grown over the past few months. Like, is your group getting 5, 10, 20, 30 recruits in a month's time? And obviously all that's going to change, and it's going to ebb and flow as well. So it's just a guesstimate. It's just something to when you put these things in writing, it gives you something to shoot for. So write all of those things down. And then the next thing is your leader lines. Now, all I'm doing there is starting to identify by name some of the people that are already in my organization, or maybe people that I have in my mind that I would like to be in my organization that I need to focus on as leaders. These are people that you're going to see in a minute, or I'm sorry, in part 3, you'll see where you kind of help define that a little bit more. So that may change. And defining who those people are will help you keep focused on helping them grow as leaders. Because as a leader, it's important for you to understand what they need as they're growing and to help either provide that for them or figure out resources to do that. And then the other thing I always like to keep in mind is the percentage of active beauty guidelines. And for me, that's always 40%. It doesn't ever increase or decrease. And I mentioned in the previous video in part 1 that the industry standard is 30%. So I always like to try to be above average. There's not a lot you can do about your average active beauty guidelines or percentage of active beauty guidelines, but it's not bad to define that and to kind of keep track of that and see where your team is and how they're doing. Some are really, really great and others not so great. So as we're now defining all of those numbers, the bottom part of each of these columns, your 6-month, your 3-month, and your 1-month strategy. So looking under the 6-month column, the 6-month vision, there's some questions there to just help you start to think big picture 6 months out. Where will your personal sales come from? And I wrote down recurring orders. That's something I need to personally work on, is being better at communicating our recurring order program, how to do that. Maybe you need to, hey Christine, maybe you need to focus on talking to more friends and family. Maybe you need to try to work outside of those. Maybe you want to tap into people at your work or people at your gym or your church or something like that. But just write a few ideas down on where you're going to be looking for your personal sales over the next 6 months. And then look at what strengths do you need on your team. So this is kind of a time for you to reflect on yourself and on the people that are around you. And what kinds of strengths do you need? Like, this is what you're going to be looking for to kind of help fill where maybe you don't measure up. We all have our strengths and our weaknesses, and you may be a great communicator but a terrible recruiter, or you may be great at sales but you are terrible at being organized, something like that. So thinking about 6 months down the road, what kinds of things over the next 6 months in this vision that we're kind of writing out, what kinds of things are you needing on your team? I personally wrote down that I need stronger leaders. I need to develop stronger leaders, more independent leaders, and I need better organized resources for training purposes. And that just gives you an idea of some things where maybe you need to focus on going forward. The next brainstorming thing that you're going to go over is, what leadership skills do you need to develop personally? And I need to be a better, you'll probably laugh because I have this coaching group and I do a lot of coaching with direct sellers, but I need to be better at tightening up my coaching skills with my downline. Sometimes I'm not always great at defining what people need and how I can provide that and do better one-on-one coaching. I think I do better with groups than I do one-on-one. So thinking about yourself, what kind of leadership skills are you needing? You may need to develop better resources for your team, better training. There's all different kinds of things where you may lack, and this is going to give you, when you write that down, it's going to give you a little bit more focus on the things that you need to work on, and growing yourself as a person. Where will you be networking? And this is one of those things where sometimes we get stuck in our comfort zone when we're networking. You may be a great Facebook networker, or you may be awesome at Snapchat or Instagram, or maybe you're the kind of person that does a lot of home parties. Maybe you do a lot of vendor events. You may be kind of a one-trick pony, and thinking outside of what you are doing now and where you can go forward for networking, and where you're going to be, talking to people. Maybe you need to do more networking at work. Maybe you need to do more networking at your gym or your church. You may not see those. You may not be using those networking opportunities to your full advantage, and that's something that you can write down. And next is, who will your guides and mentors be? You may already have people that you're using as guides and mentors, people that are already in your life, or maybe you need to seek out a better mentor or somebody that you can learn from. And really, that's just food for thought. It's not necessarily something that you have to write down, but may give you some, if you do have people in mind that maybe you're not utilizing all of the tools that they have available as a mentor, you can write their name down to kind of keep it top of mind, to go, hey, I need to go look at that, see what that person is posting on Facebook, or I need to go read that person's latest book, or, whatever that situation is. All right, so next, going under your 3-month plan. You've defined kind of what your big vision needs to look for the next 6 months. Now you're going to kind of come in a little bit tighter and talk about this 3-month plan. So how are you going to, the first question is, how are you going to find new hostesses? This can be a really big, hard struggle for people when they are in network marketing, and there tends to be kind of a 3-month slump, especially when you first get started. And I think it kind of cycles every 3 to 6 months, where you'll have plenty of people to talk to about being a hostess, or about having an event, or even just talking to about orders. And then you kind of tap out of your network. So how are you going to find new hostesses? For me, I wrote down, go for no. I really just have to ask more. I really just have to step out of that comfort zone, and ask the question more for people to host a party or to host an online event for me. What tools do you need to grow? Where are you missing things in your organization and in your business? I'm personally missing a lot when it comes to recruiting. So I need to read more and up my recruiting game more. Maybe you have a great recruiting game, but your personal sales are junk. So you may need to read more about sales and about closing sales, or things like that. I definitely recommend reading Go for No. And if you're in this group, you may have seen that I did a training recently on that book. And I would really recommend, no matter where you are in your journey, that you take a look at the concepts there. Either watch that, it's a, I think, 25-minute video that I did, or if you download the book from Amazon or audible.com, you can, it's only like an hour and a half or something like that, when you listen to the Audible. So next, and this is something that I learned early on that I was terrible at, and that we all need to do, and it's, what will you delegate to your leaders? Make sure when you're developing and you're helping build new people, and that you're delegating things to people, that you're not trying to take on everything yourself. I think many of us that are in a leadership role tend to want to take everything on. We tend to want to carry everybody. And the fact of the matter is, if you help people get skin in the game, they will want to do more. So by delegating tasks out, leadership tasks and things like that, you're really going to help yourself, and you're going to help them feel important. And that's very important. How will you share Limelight authentically? So there is a lot of stigmas in direct sales that that will tell you that that will show you that people can be very inauthentic when they're sharing an opportunity or sharing products. So learning to be more authentic with your messaging is really, really important. Hey, Lexi. And how are you going to do that? For me, I am trying to absorb and learn everything I can about attraction marketing and about really putting myself out there as a leader and a mentor and somebody that supports people to attract people to my organization without being like, hey, join my team. So learning more on attraction marketing was my how I'm going to share Limelight authentically. And maybe it's just having more conversations for you or opening up a little bit more. And the last question under your 3-month plan is, how will you communicate with your team? How will you be communicating? So if you don't have a team group, thanks, Tanya. Are you going to create a team group at some point? Like, what will your team name be? Are you going to have an email list? I use MailChimp for my communication via email with my team, and that's where I keep, when people join my team, they fill out the form from MailChimp, and then I have everybody's information all in one place, and it's super organized. So MailChimp is one of the ways that I communicate. I use a Facebook page. But one of the things that I wrote down on my 3-month plan is that I'd like to do more consistent coaching and just conversations on the phone. I find a lot of value in talking to people one-on-one and, having a two-way conversation. So it's something I want to work a lot more on. So now, oh good, my husband's joined in. Hey honey, he's upstairs. I'm surprised he's not down here watching. So now you've got your 6-month vision, you've got your 3-month plan, and now we're looking at your 1-month strategy. So now, like I was telling you, this is it's a bullseye, so we're getting quite a bit tighter here now on that bullseye. And it's good that this is still the beginning of the month. So take a look at the next few weeks in your month, and how are you going to meet these goals and start the momentum going to achieve all the numbers that you wrote down in this top part. How are you going to do that? So how many parties or events are you going to have? Some people do online events, some people do vendor shows, some people do in-home parties. Like, this is just like the number of things that you're going to book and get on the calendar. So how many are you going to do this month? Write that down, and that's the next thing that you're going to go forward toward filling that calendar up. Or you can write down how many no's you're going to get. I'm going to make sure that I get 4 no's this month. I'm going to see where that takes you. Do you have a follow-up plan? And if you don't, might be time to develop one. In the files for this group, I have a couple of really simple spreadsheets that you can download that are that help you follow up if you send out samples, and recruiting packets, I think the other one is. But anyway, if you don't have a follow-up plan, developing a follow-up plan or figuring one out is going to really, really help you develop not only your personal sales, but it's also going to help you coach your team when they're looking for a plan. And I mean, it can be as simple as a spreadsheet. It could be as simple as writing it down on a calendar or in a planner. But they're not kidding when they say the fortune is in the follow-up. If you do not have a follow-up plan that you're implementing right now, 100% get on top of that. And the next question is, or the next thing to focus on, is your targeted recruiting messages. So what kinds of messaging over the next month are you going to be sharing with your network? And this is really important to write down, because it's going to help you to keep your messaging consistent. For me, I've been doing 30-second videos on a quick technique with makeup. So my message this month is quick and easy, and as we come into the end of this month, I'm going to start thinking about fall trends. I don't want to get into fall too quick and too early, but it's school starting, and fall is definitely going to be on people's minds here in the next month or so. So that's another thing that I kind of have lurking in the back of my head. It could be different for you, but maybe you're really a skincare junkie, or you're an ingredients person or something like that. But when you write down just a few messages that you want to target each month, it helps you be consistent in keeping that message in front of people. You have to remember, your audience doesn't see everything you say or post. They don't see it all. So you have to think that they're probably only going to see maybe, I don't know, a quarter of the things that you post, maybe at best. So being consistent and keep that message going over a month's time is going to help people to really understand what you're trying to communicate. And then the next two things that are on there are really just kind of reminders to constantly be finding and sharing resources and training with your team, and to be seeking new networking opportunities. And really that's just kind of being aware. Being aware when you are talking to people, when, for listening for people to be giving you an opportunity to network. I think sometimes we do too much talking and not enough listening. And it's important to remind yourself to be seeking those things out and looking for them along the way, and, sharing them with your team, or with your upline, or with your, with whoever's in your personal network, because it's going to only help you grow. So I feel like I talked 100 miles an hour, but that's part 2. I've got mine all filled out here, and I'm certainly looking at this, and if I compared it to the one that I did a couple of months ago, it's all changing a little bit, and it's supposed to. These are definitely things that I consider more notes than things that are set in stone, and it helps me define where I want to be, and redevelop as things go along. I need a good you really do need a good follow-up plan. A follow-up plan will help keep your personal sales intact every month, and it will help keep those personal sales growing. And it's really, it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to take a lot of time, but it does have to happen, and you do need to be consistent with it, and it will pay off for you huge if you're doing good follow-ups. So if you don't have a good follow-up plan, that I think should be your first order of business, no matter where you're at in your organization. And the better you do at following up, the better you can teach other people to follow up, and the better you follow up, the higher your personal sales are going to be. And as you go forward, the more you can help other people follow up that are in your organization, the better your total group retail volume is going to be. I mean, the payoff is really, really huge. Okay, so that's it. That's the end. Tina says, I just had a big slap in the face reminder of how important follow-up is just today. That's one of those things that I remember a couple of months ago I said to myself, how many times can I have those big slap in the faces that I need to be doing a better job of following up before I actually put a good plan into place? And we make a lot of excuses about, well, I just need to do this or that, or, oh, I need to get this or that together, but it doesn't have to be complicated. And I think following up is one of those things that we need to pull the excuse meter out of the equation and just do it. Be like Nike and just do it. And it is a lesson you can learn the hard way, for sure, over and over and over and over again, for sure. All right, well, I hope you learned something today. I'm gonna go. I am so glad that you guys were able to join me tonight. I hope that you're able to put this together. I hope it helps you as much as it's helped me. And I will be doing part 3, the People Analyzer, tomorrow morning at 9:15. So we'll have all 3 parts done and ready to roll for the rest of the month. So good luck, and I will see you tomorrow.